Apparently it was an apple. The forbidden fruit was an apple. Probably not really. That was just one of the fruits. But, apples are a good fruit. And we like to eat apples as people. We drink apple juice. We like apple fizz. I like apple fizz a lot. And apple cordial. Cotty's cordial is apple cordial. It's nice cordial. And we have apples in our lunchbox as kids when we take them to school. And there's a surname of Apple. A computer company called Apple. Apples are great. Gotta love those apples. Full of vitamins and good for you. Apples. I should probably eat more apples to get healthy. I drink a lot of apple juice, but I don't eat many apples. Anyway, apparently, I think this is the case. Apparently it was an apple which fell from a tree once. Lonk and landed on his head or something, or landed on the ground or something. Apparently it was I think it was an apple. And it was a Isaac Newton. Is it Isaac Newton? Gravity. Gravity. I'll call that gravity. What we know of gravity from our scientific studies is that it's not really that sort of it is a natural thing, but it's not that that's up and that that's down, because there's not really up and down in gravity. That's how we sort of think at times in our natural selves, in the natural world. Well, that's down, so things fall down, that's up. But gravity's not based on up and down. When you know physics a bit, which we learned a bit at school, you know that you find out that gravity is not really an up and down thing. Gravity is attraction. The object there, an apple in the sky there, if it's let go, it gravitates to the earth, which is a bigger solid. It's a bigger solid than the tiny little apple, and something in the way that the universe is constructed, things congregate together. It's like when you see the little droplets of water on a sink top, and sometimes if you drop a little piece of water next to it and it touches it, it folds into it, it converges with each other and it becomes a bigger drop. People have probably noticed that. That's something to do with attraction as well and gravity. But there's gravity in the world. Gravity is a principle of nature. Gravity is a law of nature. And yeah, gravity is a law of nature. It's a natural thing. Isn't that fascinating? People like to when they're young, they like to define themselves in some ways. When they start identifying with this and identifying with that, and taking this cultural item from the culture into their lives, and following that tradition or joining that club as they get older and things like that, they join things, they associate with things. They're usually loyal to their family and loyal to their parents, usually, and loyal to their siblings, usually. Not always, but usually. And they join things, they connect to things. And people often take a lifelong interest in certain things, and they're very committed and sincere to certain things. Cultural items and religious items and icons of society. Icons a lot of the time. Popular things a lot of the time. Sometimes they're like obscure things, but a lot of times they're like popular things. And the person that we are, with all its spiritual thirstings, if we have them, and desires for knowledge and desires for understanding and desires for association, often we get a deep desire and we go for something. We want to connect to some sort of item or thing in life, and it's like the law of gravity. Boom, straight to it. We gravitate to it. We gravitate to things which make sense to us. So maybe that's in all the confused things and the sensible things which go on in our mind and in our thoughts and perhaps in our spirit and our heart, all of what we've taken in from the world to make sense of it all, that leads us and connects us to stuff. It gravitates us towards stuff. We gravitate to things. We gravitate to religion, which we identify with. We gravitate to sporting teams, which we gravitate to. We gravitate to attractive persons of the opposite sex, and for some people of the same sex. And we gravitate to things. We connect and we stick to them. That's what we're made of, and it happens in a natural way and in a normal way. What we're made of is shown true through what we gravitate to, what makes sense to us. It's natural, it's law of gravity. Very natural, very normal. It's who we are. Be yourself no matter what they say. Ain't that the truth? And that's what a lot of people finish with. That be yourself no matter what they say. And it's nature and it's nurture. And it's nature and it's nurture. And it's nature and it's nurture. And be yourself no matter what they say. Wisdom, right? There's a little addendum in God's book of human development theory. Little addendum. And I read that addendum. And it's when you choose and when you cultivate something in your life and when you decide and when you think for yourself and have a thought which is original. It's when you have an understanding of the world and all the things that you've gravitated to, but then a higher thinking comes in, and as time goes by, if you've cultivated your thinking and your strengths of force and developed your personality from your own choices a bit more, you get to the point where you choose a bit more what you gravitate to, and you notice your natural attraction to things, and that still happens naturally anyway, but you get more control of what you gravitate to. It's up to you. It's your life. And when they say be yourself no matter what they say, let's just accept who you are and go with the flow. But when you rise above that, and you choose to be what you want to make yourself to the world, what you want to be for your own choices, and not what nature, and not what nurture is imposed upon you, which is not really much of a choice. But when you choose for yourself, you enter a higher area of life. Don't expect it to be easy, I don't think it would be. When you choose your own identity, and choose what you want to be, you don't go with the flow of the world so much. You become a new spark of energy, which creates a new cultural thing in the world, a new cultural item, a new understanding, a new knowledge, a new principle, a new way of life. Control your life and be the lord of your own gravity. Be the lady of your own gravity. Be the master of your own gravity. Be the one in control. And then there's another book which God doesn't recommend to anybody, which he keeps hidden. You have to ask him about it with wisdom because you've actually used your thought and thought a bit. And it's a little book, It's based on Genesis 1 ideas where you create something. You don't just think your own thoughts, but you create something. And you create your own thing, which has the strength for it not to you be attracted to other things, but that little charisma, that little knowledge, that spiritual stuff which you're working with, which has other things gravitate to you. The secret of the icon. Jesus knew it. He researched his Torah well. Moses probably had an inkling. The great iconoclasts had an inkling of that. They knew how to get things to gravitate to them because they had new ideas and they thought outside the box. So if you want to gravitate to stuff, be a follower. But if you want stuff to gravitate to you, be original and have followers. Gravity.